Welcome back to Peril Pending, where today we're going to look at the true cost of AI. Yes, once again, as I was scrolling through the web of inters, I came across a lovely article from Yahoo Finance. Link will be in the description. And we're going to go over some of my favourite bits from the article. Headline: Microsoft reports are exposing AI's real cost. Using the tech is more expensive than paying human employees. Who could have guessed it? I mean, only anybody who knows anything about this technology or works in this sector could have guessed that. But, you know, the bigwigs running it, they'll never admit that. Microsoft has reportedly begun cancelling most of its direct Claude Code licenses, according to The Verge, instead moving engineers towards using GitHub. Now, I don't know why Microsoft wasn't using Copilot to begin with. It seems a little odd since Copilot's your baby. Why were you cooking it with Claude? But look at that. Microsoft. I struggle to think of companies that are bigger than Microsoft. Amazon, possibly, Walmart. That's about it, off the top of my head. And even they are unable to eat the costs of using AI. Now, how does that work with the narrative that all these bigwigs and all these lazy tech journalists are saying that it's going to replace humans? Doesn't really gel, does it? And staggeringly, the article says this comes just 6 months after the firm first opened up access to Claude Code. It took them 6 months to realise, oh bugger, there's no way we can afford this. But yeah, sure. It's going to replace humans. Okay. They encouraged thousands of its developers, project managers, designers, and other employees to experiment with coding. Yeah, nothing screams vulnerability quite like getting project managers and designers to experiment with coding, but okay. The tech became popular fast, perhaps too popular, as the scale at which employees used it is now prompting the firm to reverse course on a tool its own engineers had come to rely on. And that's the problem, you see. That's the main issue. That's my main gripe with it. It's not going to make anybody work any faster. It just makes you dependent on it. And then if you don't actually know the technology, you're just trusting that what it's spitting out is correct. Microsoft isn't the only company scaling back its internal AI use. The article goes on to say that Uber's CTO, Praveen Napalinaga, told the information in April that the firm had already burnt through its entire 2026 AI coding tool budget in just 4 months. Yep. Such a sustainable technology. I'm so glad that all our energy bills are going to go up and all our water bills are going to go up and the environment's going to be absolutely scuppered, so that for 4 months or for 6 months, some CEOs can see a spike in, it's not even productivity, it's output, I guess. But like, if you're just spilling garbage into your code base and you're not checking it, yeah, you know what? It's gonna look like you're pushing out a lot more in a lot less time, but then you have to go back and fix it all. And that comes after the company had actively incentivized adoption through internal leaderboards, ranking teams by AI tool usage. Yeah, I can't see any problem with that. Let's just create a leaderboard to incentivize it. What does that even mean? So we're not going to check the output, or are you checking the output using the AI? This just seems like the big companies, the big entities in technology are almost like fudging the numbers, because incentivizing people to use AI, is that actually people needing to use AI? Or is it fudging the numbers to make it look like so many people are using AI? You know how like Microsoft fudged the numbers by pre-installing Copilot on every single edition of Microsoft, so it looks like they've got a lot of users. Or how Google's done with Gemini, putting it onto like all their mobile phones and whatnot, even though no one uses it. The reports may throw cold water on the bet tech's biggest firms have placed on technology. And while some cling to the promise of an AI renaissance or revolution, the cost of adoption is proving a stubborn bottleneck. Who is well, it's the CEOs, isn't it? It's the CEOs, and it's like Dario Amadeus and Sam Altman who are the ones clinging to this promise of an AI renaissance or revolution, because it means that they would have to pay less. They'd have to pay less because they'd have less employees, because this renaissance of a technology will just come in, and as long as you prompt make no mistakes, it'll just build you a product, a fantastic product. These developments also suggest that the economics of replacing or augmenting human labour with AI may be more complicated than some early forecasts originally implied. The wording on there is perfect. Originally implied. Yes, because Sam Altman, Dario Amadeus, anybody else who has a little AI baby, they had to say that. They had to say this is going to replace humans, because they're selling you this product. If someone's trying to sell you a biscuit, they're going to tell you it's the best goddamn biscuit of your life, and once you've had this, you're never going to want to eat anything else. They've got to hype themselves up. They're all gas. Of course it was a lie. Anybody with any sense can tell that this was a lie. And the only people clinging to this idea of a renaissance or a revolution are, again, the creators of the AI models, well, the LLM models, and the CEOs of these companies, because they're desperate. Even though they're already so incredibly rich, they're desperate to make any more money, and they're also desperate to avoid admitting that every single one of these revolutionary tech giants, these oracles of the industry, they're desperate to avoid admitting that every single one of them got played. The article goes on to say Uber and Microsoft aren't the only firms pushing employees to use as much AI as possible. Like at Uber, a Meta employee crafted a leaderboard, fittingly named Claudonomics, after Anthropic's AI model, to track which workers are using the most AI. Amazon is pushing its employees to token max, or use as many tokens as possible, the basic building blocks of AI compute. Again, why? Why does more equal better? In programming, for example, more can sometimes equal better if you're looking at efficiency, but more can also mean bad. Again, if you're looking at efficiency, it's a lot more complicated than simply using what is basically like a next word generator, essentially. It doesn't understand. It's just predicting, based off the information it's been trained on, what the best answer for you is. It's not this god that Uber, Microsoft, and Amazon seem to think it is. Although I can understand why Microsoft and Amazon would think it is, because they have a stake in the game. They have a horse in this race. Uber, as far as I'm aware, are just idiots. But with a token-based pricing system, the work gets more expensive. With more use and better efficiency, Goldman Sachs recently forecast that agentic AI could drive a 24-fold increase in token consumption by 2030, as consumers and enterprises adopt AI agents, reaching a staggering 120 quadrillion tokens per month. As businesses turn to AI agents to boost productivity, aggregate costs could rise sharply, even if the price of each token falls. Yeah, this was the nail in the coffin. This is the true cost of AI. It was only going to be so long before the models had to move to a token-based pricing system, because people paying £20 a month and being able to burn through 200 tokens is not a good business model. You're not making any kind of profit there. You're making a loss. And so as they all slowly move to token-based, they're going to find that first, the average user drops because the average user isn't going to be able to pay that much when they truly see how much it costs for them to be prompting over and over and over again because nobody understands the code. They're first going to quit. They're going to find out, oh, actually, it's much easier if I hire a human being. And also I can be confident that they're going to get it sorted because they're a human being, not an LLM. And then it'll move to businesses, small and medium. Oh, you know what? Nope, we can't afford this either. It's just a, what is it? It's just a hype tool. It's something that people on LinkedIn like to yell about how you've got to be using AI. You've got to be using AI. Well, the only other thing businesses listen to is their bottom dollar, and when it starts to be eaten into by all these token-based systems, they're going to switch. And the last ones clinging on will be the giant companies that already have a stake in the game, and they desperately cling on because, well, if we're not using it, no one's going to use it. And if no one's going to use it, well then, were we wrong? Were we wrong to push this technology and say it was going to replace humans? Yes. You were incredibly wrong.